come before you once again to say thank you for the love and mercy, grace, and renewed, and for the weather. Lord, thank you, for just everybody gathered here tonight. Lord, bless please watch over the council and all the citizens, help us to work together, come together for the benefit of all. Please forgive us our sins and shortcomings in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you've not already done so, please sign in. All right. Council, in front of you, you've got the minutes for June the 10th. Please look over those for a few. Are there any additions or corrections?
Okay, we sent these out last Wednesday. Would it help you guys if we sent them out a couple days, you know? Not grumbling, but again, try
They
to
were.
meet the deadlines, and if you need a couple more days, we'll speed up our process, but
What was that?
I don't know, I'm lost.
Well, we had an opportunity to read these in our emails,
Oh,
so.
yeah, my
Yeah.
computer crashed out.
So I can't make the
Oh.
motion.
Right.
I can't. So it's
Oh.
on you.
Well, they looked fine to me, but I think there seemed to be other people that wanted to read it. So are we okay to proceed?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we proceed in approving the minutes for June the 10th.
Motion been made by Anton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Burl. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Abstain.
Motion carried, one abstain. Okay, financial report. Sheila.
copies of your monthly report. Again, as I said in the email, I give you January to June 30th, and then just the June report itself will kind of help guide you a little bit on your balances and what was spent the first 6 months of the year when we get to the budgeting process. balances, again, do look good. We're, I think, a little bit ahead of the game where we've been the last couple of years, but that doesn't mean we have extra money. So, questions, we'll try to be more specific in budget, depending on who and when's up. We haven't, obviously, to schedules and stuff like that, but we'll have more direct reports from each one of the funds for you when we give you your budget next week.
On the local health maintenance, that's, I mean, is that getting, I see that it's in the negative. Is that,
There's transfers that were done, need done, but it was at the end of the year, that it was in the red, so I'm not allowed to make adjustments on that. It was something state board of accounts will give us the corrections on.
any of you have any questions on the financials? If not, we'll move on to old business. Code enforcement officer.
Good evening. Just for a quick update, one of the discussions that was held here was about the hearing authority. And so the last commissioners meeting, first I'll say the BZA had a small number show up, so they didn't have the full BZA there, and the three that were present couldn't come to an agreement one way or another. So that meant that it would be pushed off. After consultation with the commissioners, it was determined that the hearing authority would be a three-member board. It would consist of one of the commissioners or designee. It would consist of it would consist of one of the commissioners or their designee, the director, administrator of the health department, were their designee, and the highway superintendent were their designee. Purposes being that the highway superintendent is all over the county and is extremely familiar with what is going on in the county, what comparable properties look like, things like that. And also with the health department presence, that really brings them in if there's health-related issues. So that is what the commissioners pass is the hearing authority on that. The code enforcement officer, Sheila, was that position posted?
Suzanne.
Suzanne posted. So it's been posted, and so we're moving forward with that.
So the job description had a slight modification on hiring authority. Should we go ahead and just re-adopt it tonight for the record? Is that?
We could. That
Okay.
was the only change was based on what was said in here.
Right.
So, but yeah.
So are you good with it? Job
So,
description?
so the only thing that had changed is under other, which was, previously was the commissioners were over this code enforcement officer, and then now it says the building inspector position is within the planning and building department and is under the direct supervision of the planning and building director. So that's why it has changed.
Yeah.
Code enforcement, not building.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, excuse me.
And then some question.
Well, yeah, but, okay, that's another question I do have, because this is, I'm reading it off the job description, and it says the building inspector position.
It's a.
Is that a
It's
typo?
code
Or,
enforcement building inspector.
so should
Slash,
that
so
be,
They could fill in for building inspector.
okay, so
So
that's
you
the
could-
only
you
thing
could
that I
have code
see that,
enforcement slash.
right, because, like I said, I was reading it verbatim from that,
And
so.
since the office is so small, at some points, the code enforcement officer may need to do some building inspections to keep projects moving along.
Right, right. But this
Yeah. that-
position is for the code enforcement
Yes.
officer.
Yeah, and I think that the title is correct, Code Enforcement Officer / Building Inspector Assistant, so that's good. It's also that way in the footnote. And where was it at, Polly? Was it the end?
Under other.
Down at the bottom, yeah.
Right,
So,
7, or section 7.
yeah, I think we just need to maybe slightly modify that to match. Okay, let me make sure I got that here. It'll be Code Enforcement Officer / Building Inspector Assistant is what we're going to replace Building Inspector with. Is that good? And it looks like under the employee acknowledgement, it was changed there. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we adopt the job description for the new part-time code enforcement officer / building inspector assistant as amended.
Motion made by Anton, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Steve. Are there any questions on this? If not, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, one abstention.
And then as far as, since the authority of, since there's that layer now, which is good for appeals is there, is there anything else, Sheila, you need from us?
No, it was, the 50,000 was advertised from the storage unit fund, and we know we don't need all of that, so I think just kind of a generic budget to what's in the salaries and the line items, and I can work with Suzanne and kind of get a little bit of a budget, because we're gonna have to put them in line items.
I think she had 25,000 figured as a part-time position. I think that's what it was, so we can figure out where we're at here in the year as far as basically we'll go from there.
Yeah, we already approved the appropriation contingent on this action that was taken, and we already set a wage amount. We already determined what fund it's coming from, so it's just a matter on the auditor's side to do whatever they need to do for payroll and get that done. So,
I just want to say for the record, I would have loved to have seen like 3, citizens that were not tied in with local government. I would have liked to have that, but, that's not our, in our jurisdiction, so, but, and that, the only only contingency we said, or stipulation we said was so that there was an appeals board, and that's,
Yeah, and it also is not the last say, so they can also take it to the circuit court if they so choose. So, and that way you would have the actual judiciary making final determination if it went that far. So it's,
yeah, people.
it's not a end of the road thing, it just having those coming.
okay, is there any other action, or is that pretty much what we need to do on the code enforcement?
Thank you for putting that together,
Yes.
getting that done.
Okay, on to the jail project update. I sent out an email, I think yesterday or this morning, for another jail committee meeting, and Ryan was the only one that got back so far, so that is still in the planning. Gary, do you want to expand on what's going on with
We
the
just
land?
turned it over to the redevelopment committee. By state guidelines, it's best that we let them take care of the transfer of the property. That way, if there's a difference in values, it goes into more of a redevelopment or an economic development for the county. So I asked the attorney to check into that. Marshall Thornburg has given us all the information, has done this in many counties over the years with property transfers. So we're doing it the legal way, and we're doing it the right way. It's about wrapped up. One thing I did do, Polly, and I know we've talked about this, is the environmental study. We are going to go ahead and pursue that. Dana's an environmental specialist. He used to be an environmental attorney. So he's going to contact some companies to do background research. We're going to ballpark a figure of $2,500 to $3,000 to get all this information. So there may not be a core sample at all. Needs to be done. A lot of it can be done through legal documentation. So we're going to go ahead and pursue that, get that out of the way. We obviously don't want to do a transfer of property and find out we've got an issue.
Right,
So
right, that was one of my concerns.
Would be the phase one environmental site assessment is what it's called for the property transaction. The USDA may be requiring something related to historical issues and things like that, so there may have to be a couple other studies like that if that's what the USDA requires. I haven't seen the requirements, so if maybe you could get the contact information for the person who you use.
Okay.
Get with them and make sure that whatever the upfront things that need to be done is done.
So at what point will there need to be a vote or action on whether that property transfer is going to occur?
There's
several steps.
Okay, I was just wondering like when our next point will be where we need to take some kind of action.
Well, the redevelopment commission will meet on Thursday. It's okay, I will email you. Did you
What?
have that?
The 2 o'clock? Yeah, 2 o'clock on Thursday.
Yeah. And that is the next step. Like I said, I do not have the full timeline with me when we're in the commissioners meeting.
And if the redevelopment commission, let's say that they're good with it, that it works and that
They've already
process.
voted that they're good with it.
Okay, so they've done
happened
that.
Last, Friday, Molly?
It's not a official vote, but they.
They're kind of their,
To move forward.
They're
Blessing.
investigating, they're going forward investigating.
and then will they have a final, need to take final vote or?
There will be, well, I said, it's on the timetable.
There's several resolutions they have to.
Do you have,
agree on.
you do have the timetable with you, or?
And you can email it, I just want to get an idea, there is a
I think
timetable,
that's
it's going to
good
take
for all of
time,
us to have.
multiple steps.
It's a 6-8 week process.
Got it. And then the council will have to take action at some point, the commissioners, there'll be a joint resolution at some point for the land swap.
Yeah, because it goes into the redevelopment, then once it's done, it comes back to the county,
So there's a couple rumors out there. Number one, have the goalposts moved at all on the amount of acreage that the county was originally going to get for the property on 43? Or was it always 10 acres?
Originally, we first started talking about 30, that wasn't feasible. We brought that up because there was 30 acres there. But there's not 30 acres of buildable property out there. 20 acres of it is Quarry Hill.
Okay, and the second question is, it's my understanding that utilities still need to be brought back to the location. So what type of estimation is there as far as those costs?
Utilities are back there now to their office trailer, and then also Scott Winders lives back there.
Okay, so there's no need for any utilities.
Other than the fact that we may have to put an 8-inch sewer main in instead of a 4-inch, I'm not sure what's right up there, but yes, the facilities are already there.
So you're talking a drain, but you're talking as far as it's shovel ready as far as being,
All of the services are there. Yep.
I pulled the planning calendar up. So again, on Thursday, the redevelopment commission will meet, and if they so choose, they will adopt a resolution authorizing, ratifying, and obtaining appraisals of the jail site property for Indiana Code and the county property for Indiana Code. And 2, adopt a resolution approving the acquisition of county property. And then the Board of Commissioners meeting on the 17th, will adopt a resolution approving the transfer of county property to RDC. Before August 20th,
The August 20th. Yes.
the redevelopment commission gets the proposals, which are appraisals, which pretty much are done at this point. And then the redevelopment commission will meet and adopt a declaratory resolution amending the EDA plan as needed to authorize acquisition of the jail site property and county property. A resolution approving disposition license for county property permitted in code, and resolution approving acquisition license for jail site property permitted in code. Then on their regular meeting on August 20th, the area planning commission meeting, they will adopt a resolution approving the declaratory resolution amending the EDA plan. And on Wednesday, August 21st, the Board of Commissioners meeting, the commissioners will adopt a resolution approving the declaratory resolution amending the EDA plan. And then there'll be a public hearing on the declaratory resolution. And that is held by the redevelopment commission. They'll hold that public meeting and adopt a confirmatory resolution amending the plan. The RDC adopt a resolution approving the acquisition of jail site property, including acquisition for greater than acquisition list price, ordinary code, and resolution approving the disposition of county property for less than the disposition price list. And then that will be out for 30 days notice of the public hearing. And then after that hearing, 30 days later, the redevelopment commission would sign all transfer documents.
So at the end of the day, the council will not have any vote in this. Is that what you're saying?
Not on the real estate.
Not on the real estate, even though it is a purchase technically?
It's a transfer, like going to the redevelopment commission, it goes into their hands and they control their own.
And since it's a zero-sum arrangement, but the appraisals are different between the two properties, correct?
We have not seen the official final appraisals. Initially, yes.
So initially, they are different, and so the property, which one is more valuable? The 10 acres here in town or the 90-some acres out of town?
The early appraisals showed the county property to be more valuable than the property being acquired. However, the redevelopment commission, in looking at that, can, if they so choose, make a determination that the need for that site for the county, for the jail, supersedes the difference in price, and the fact that they're able to acquire that property without paying anything but, like the studies and transfer costs, appraisals, and those administrative things.
Right.
That is such a benefit to the county. The county property is, when they first did the appraisal, they anticipated the best use of that. One, they anticipated there being utilities, but there's not. They anticipated there being, that the best use of that would be residential.
And you're talking the one out of town?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's
South side Franklin Road.
Yeah, and it's not.
It's not built.
So technically, what you're alluding to is that the value of that appraisal may be a bit higher than what it actually should be because it took into account factors that would normally raise the
Yeah,
price.
and they're supposed to be
Okay.
modifying it based on
And
the.
I called Rich Figg, doing the appraisal, and asked him if he put that into consideration. He said he did not. That would change it considerably.
And that'll be done soon.
And what
that
about, I
determination.
mean, because if, I know they were talking residential, but with the county old landfill there, I mean, you can't build houses on something like
There's
that,
7
right?
acres there that can't be touched. The only thing it could be used for is a hay field, it could be used for an entrance. Mr. Franklin's been sent the IDM requirements for that property. It's basically hills and hollers, and they'll use it for a tree farm.
And also the comprehensive plan would, if you follow it would say that that property should be agricultural property. It's institutional right now, it's the county, but it's land, whatever. But it should actually be agricultural property, which is valued less for residential property.
But I had a question. When it says agricultural, I mean, because I know there's a misconception out there that it's bean fields. But I mean, are there any bean fields in that 96 acres?
Timber.
I didn't.
It's not as a beans.
Because I think that's a misconception that's out there right now.
Yeah, there's no fields on it whatsoever.
Timber is agricultural.
Yeah, I understand that, but I was,
And we want to,
people were saying bean fields. I mean, well,
that's
okay,
on the north side.
yeah, that's what I thought.
That's the 80 acres.
That's what I
And that
thought.
site is developable.
Right.
I mean, matter of fact.
So I think that's what people are getting confused is, there's two different pieces of land, and the land that we're talking about is not the bean fields and stuff. It's just the timber and that landfill there, correct?
The only flat spot on it is that, where the old landfill is at, literally.
Yeah,
I
how
know
many
the
acres
tree
are
house
they-
out there,
how many acres are they out here you're dealing with?
just shy of 10. But it has all the infrastructure that we need, and the site is perfect, this location.
That that upgrade of a sewer pipe, for instance, or whatever, even the water line may need to be updated. That's cost within the limitations of the project.
Right.
I just want to make sure that's somehow
Just like
taken into account.
any other property that would have to be acquired, the cost of the property as well as, that
You'd
all
have to
has to
figure
go
that
in,
in.
right?
Yeah, okay.
And that's why we want to do this for zero cost. That's the best for the county.
Who's paying for the appraisals? Do we need to do an additional appropriation request tonight?
We can do that through the QCAP fund. We have money there to do that, and that falls in guidelines to do that.
Just,
And we also said if we, like which we were there, redevelopment pays for those, and then we can reimburse them for those appraisal fees.
I'd rather us use jail money for jail costs.
And we can do that as well.
Because CUMCAP is limited as it is, and we've got so many other needs on facilities and things where that may come in more handy, and it's more restricted in that respect. So, something to think about. I mean,
And I'll put that in your hands. We're just trying to keep
Okay.
tapping into the jail funds.
I'm just thinking additional appropriation, if they decide tonight to use another fund, we can get it advertised for your next meeting. If not, it would
If
be,
they want to vote on it out of the jail fund, that's all right.
what kind of dollars would we need to be looking at here?
Appraisals are a couple $1,000s a piece.
Well, there's going to be surveys too. It's not just
So,
We'll need to get prices for all that, so we may take another little while to get that.
so we don't need to do it tonight? Okay.
I wouldn't.
Because again, the RDC can pay for it, and then the county can decide to
Okay.
reimburse the RDC.
They have plenty of funds there to do that.
I'm going to make I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We're going to have public comments at the end, so if everybody can, make notes on what questions they're wanting to ask or talk about at the end, then we'll have that during public comments. So I'm not ignoring anybody, I promise. You guys had any more questions? Okay, let's move on to Communication Center contract appropriation.
This is the total response.
This is what, pardon?
This is total response?
Right, right. I just want to say that, we're not We're not picking on you. There's just a specific process that it has to go through for additional appropriations. And that process was kind of cut in half, or, so that's where we're at right now.
Sure.
Yes, you're good, Sherry. We like you.
If you have questions, about procedures or how to, reach out to any one of us or anybody, because we would be more than happy
Sure.
to, explain the process and what's been done. So.
And it might be for the benefit of everybody if maybe Sheila could maybe send a notice out to all department heads, just reminding them of the appropriations process, because it is 2 steps, advertisement and then a hearing. And just to make sure there's no confusion on that, it's a state law, it is a State Board of Accounts audited function. And it might just be a good reality check that, hey, sometimes, especially with new department heads, they might be put into an odd situation because of that process and not knowing completely. So that might be a good idea, I think, and a lesson learned out of all this. And it's also to our understanding that the commissioners did modify their ordinance on the definitions of the 911 board, which does scale back their realm of authority. And in light of that, and I think we don't have much option here, we'd have to make sure that this is paid for because it's within that realm.
Well, I for one, was very disappointed to see that happen because I feel like the board is there for your resource as well as the others, and I would like to see more communication between yourself and the board and EMS and all the different public.
So why was the powers on the 911 committee scaled back?
So,
Sure.
I was just gonna say that, so Matt Miller is the
Chairman.
and he had some questions on some of the verbiage, and so it went back to the county attorney, clarified the verbiage, and then you can.
Well, I spoke with Matt, he agreed that it needed to be changed. He's the president of the advisory board, spoke to him again today. The advisory board should not have any kind of financial ramifications over the department. It's the department head's responsibility, that's why we have it.
Well, financial's one thing, but I understand that
That was the only one that changed.
some of the things were right, but I thought there was an argument, maybe by you or the county attorney, that the purchase for said program didn't fall under processes and procedures. But to
We're
me,
talking about the radio programs, what we're talking about, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
No, we're talking about the total response.
Okay.
I spoke with Matt as well. His concern, as well as my concern, is say, and I'm just using this as a example, but say, you implemented, paid $50,000 for this software and it did not, it disrupted one of the other department's processes. So here we go with spending the $50,000, and then if it disrupts the procedures that the 911 board is supposed to oversee, and then they have to determine that that is not going to work, then we've spent $50,000 on something that we can't utilize.
Sure. So let me be perfectly clear. Everybody on the board knew about this program in advance except for Jack White. He's the only person that I hadn't circled around with because in his purview, this program doesn't relate. So I had talked to Chris, I had talked to Matt, and they were all for it. So how this, I don't know where things went sideways with the communication process, It was talked about at the last meeting we had, and it was talked about today. No concerns were voiced.
So they've since been consulted anyway, regardless of this change, and you're saying they're good at
Correct.
this point? Okay.
So, but my question is, why did we, because the appearance would be that something wasn't working out in someone's favor, so that something was scaled back, or there's a second option. A commissioner woke up and said, holy cow, today's a beautiful day, and I think we just need to change this on a whim. I don't think that happened. I think something did not work out, and so the powers got changed.
The county attorney went to the advisory board meeting at the request of Matt Miller, and that's when it happened. At the request of the board, not the commissioners, then it was brought to the commissioners.
There was ambiguity in the way it was written, so this was to clear up that ambiguity. Obviously, there was an ambiguous issue because you guys all were wondering who does what, and so this was simply to clear that up.
So, Counselor, I got another question. Because I just hear things and I want to throw it at you. When this process of advertisement and for purchase wasn't followed, did you go to the State Board of Accounts and try to push it through without the council doing its final approval?
I went to the State Board of Accounts and asked them their opinions. They said that they could not give legal advice, and they wouldn't, but they indicated things that they would look at the audit point, and then if there was any issues beyond that.
But knowing that something was advertised, or supposed to be advertised at the last meeting for this purchase,
I'm sorry. Yes, something was supposed to be advertised.
Right.
Yeah, I think the
But
normal process would be to advertise and then have a hearing.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, knowing that the process was started for those two steps, why try to circumvent the council, and go to the SBA to try to figure out another way? Why not let it go to the council and let them do their thing?
At the last meeting, the council appeared to be up in the air about it, and so I was finding out what options were
Up in,
what you do, and sometimes up in the air, you find out what options are available. And
did you vote?
glad it's going this direction, this way it's best.
I think generally, we should be trying to do things where we work together, obviously. Something proactive, open up the lines of communication, have more people involved in the process, which I think what Councilwoman Chesser was alluding to. And we also want to make sure that the process is followed, that the legal steps are followed, which you've confirmed, correct? Okay. And we need to make sure that gets communicated moving forward. But at the moment, in light of the change of policy, in light of the fact that we had already voted to advertise, and this is where we're at, we've got to make a decision. And it may be ugly and it didn't work out quite the way it should have, but unfortunately, I don't know if there's really a lot of options. We'd have to approve this particular request. Right?
Nick?
Well, Anton, you say we need to approve it, but then again, by this article that the county attorney give us says that, therefore it is my opinion that as long as the money from the fund is used for the purpose stated, that the county council is not required to take action.
But SBOA said that we are. I mean, under that, even though that fund can be used for that purpose, we still have to go through the appropriate process.
I don't know, I didn't know of any funds that we don't oversee.
Right, it's just very rare, but no, I mean, did this, so the State Board of Accounts, did they reply?
They replied.
And
that-
what did they say in their final reply?
I asked about the interpretation of part of the statute that said that these funds were continuously appropriated, and the State Board of Accounts said that it is, they're operational and not illegal in the way they operate, is that because they do monthly distributions, it's distributed or appropriated at the state level to the counties. And it doesn't, appropriation does not carry through
Oh, okay.
with the county.
Yeah, that's a state thing, okay. But as far as the county part, we have to follow the appropriate, I just want to make sure we're clear here. So whatever you're referring to, Nick, I'm not sure that's accurate.
Well, that's what was written.
Right, and that was my interpretation of it, and that's the
You
view
were
of the
going to
state.
911 state director to do that.
See, it won't be long until the council has, we won't
Yeah.
even be needed. If
Yeah,
these
and
departments take it on their own to go ahead and do contracts and funds and
Right, and that's
whatever.
not a good practice to follow. You know, we want to make sure that we have the appropriate advertisement, hearing opportunity, because technically, the whole point is to give the taxpayer the opportunity to speak up. I mean, that's what
the
that
public-
process is for.
Yeah, that's what the public hearing
And
is for.
usually people don't show up and don't speak or anything like that, but you have to legally provide that opportunity to folks because there may be an objection. And then we could take that into account and then make an informed decision. So it's clear, I think that needs to be followed, and we're now at the point where we need to make that decision.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess where I'm perturbed is that this thing, okay, the process wasn't followed. All right, so we stop, we regroup, council's got the authority to advertise and to approve the funds. But again, I don't know why you would try to push it through on your own and circumvent the council. That's not in the county's best interest. That doesn't give the public a chance to have their voice in it, and that doesn't, do us any good as far,
If you look back at your May meeting where this came up, the council voted to appropriate the money. They
It was-
said nothing about.
It was misstated, but there's still a process
Right.
that is followed.
and you knew there was a
and-
process, right? You
Well, I had no
knew
reason to
things
believe
come
it
to us to
had-
be
I had no reason
advertised.
believe it hadn't been published. I mean, that's not part of what I do. I don't publish.
Okay, so you're the county attorney. You understand that there's an advertisement and appropriation process, correct?
Right, and I don't handle that process.
So we need to decide where we're going on from here, because even though I don't like how this was handled, we don't want to get into a lawsuit with something it's being used right now, correct?
We have the standalone version, correct?
So we don't want to get into a lawsuit with this company.
I mean, the adjustments have been made, the confirmations have been made. It's ugly, but, right? I think that's the key here. So,
Lessons were learned, but I do want to address something that might be a misconception on your side, Polly. So, yes, the council is, my advisory, 911 council, is there for policies and procedures. And it was discussed today, even in our meeting, we had a meeting today, earlier, that they did not even advise Kathleen, they didn't get involved in anything purchase-wise, even as far back as her tenure. So I
Right,
just wanted
and
to let you know that.
I understand that, I just know that there was a lot more communication that went on through there, and I think that's good, because it's, I think, a lot of perspectives on, whatever. We all bring something to the table,
Right.
so that's,
But I do think that they do, because if I asked you who your customer was, who would it be?
People.
Okay, but also, what other functionalities within county government would be your customer? They'd be people like the sheriff's department, like the
Oh,
EMS.
sure. Yeah.
You know, like that. So whether I understand that, you know, we're talking a financial amount of money, but these programs are obviously there, they would have valuable input to what programs are purchased, da, da, da.
Absolutely, and I did go to them. So I think you guys didn't get the whole story. And
Well, now
if
what,
there's any
we're,
confusion going forward, please reach out to me. I didn't hear from anybody. So
we most certainly will, and, you know, it's all a lot of miscommunication on everybody's part, but right now we need to figure out what we're gonna do from here. Do we want to,
Well, I am going to make a motion that we proceed with the appropriation.
We should open up public comment
Yeah, she would need to open that.
for this one.
okay, we're,
You would need to open the.
open public, I mean, the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, but that is not part of our, so would we not have to advertise? Tell us,
Well,
Sheila.
Sheila-
You have
That
a
would-
couple of options. You can either have to re-advertise it, which means it would be the August meeting. Unfortunately, I don't think it's fair to ask the vendor to wait. Their first bill was due May 30th.
We also have money that we
But you also have
could,
your money in your council fund, in your line item, in the 3,100 other services. You could do the same thing that you're getting ready to do with the resolutions to pay yourself back. So you could go ahead and pay that, have your attorney write the resolution to repay yourself. There's 3 other resolutions that he needs to be writing because that's how some of yours were done tonight.
okay.
That lets Sherry get them immediately paid. We can cut a check tomorrow if you guys make that motion because it's already in a line item. If not, you're putting it off for another
Mhm.
month, and I don't think that's.
I think
the
that would
best.
be the
All right.
fastest route, but,
And so I will make a motion that we proceed in using line 30100 out of the council's budget, right?
Mhm.
For up to $50,000. That was enough?
yes.
Okay. Up to $50,000 for the payment of the invoice. But that's going to be contingent on being reimbursed from Fund
1222.
1222 for that up to the same full amount and advertise accordingly for that appropriation to be considered at our next meeting. Is that good? Okay.
So this gets the situation, it
We
allows
need-
you to go ahead and pay.
we need a second, right? First, before we discuss it. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Second by Burl. Okay, go ahead, Nick, sorry.
No, that's okay, that's all. Sheila said, it allows you
Okay. So
We
is
can
every,
now set a claim tomorrow. Commissioner, can we
Sorry.
do an out-cycle claim tomorrow?
If that's your request.
Just, I just think we need to get them paid.
I will agree to that.
Okay, do you want me to call Bob or Joel and I'll get a second?
okay, any other questions on this? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I open the public hearing for additional appropriations request.
So this is step 2 of the process, where we already advertised and now we're considering the actual approval for those 5 items.
We're doing public comment at the end.
Well, it's a
Well,
hearing, yes.
Public hearing,
it is
I'm
a
sorry.
hearing.
Sorry.
If it's pertinent to the,
Yeah, go ahead. I apologize.
One of the things I wanted to bring up about this appropriations is that, I'm not particularly against it or anything like that, but I think that the underlying rug here is the concept, right? That the council will be left out of the purse strings for whatever. And I say that as a taxpayer. We didn't elect the county commissioners, and we didn't elect the county council to let the financial decision-making based on people that are non-elected officials. They don't represent the people. They have needs and desires, which I'm all for. But I'm just saying that it's really, really important, right, that the council grab this by the, the shirt collar there and say, look, this is our job to represent the people and how we spend our money. And so it's really important that the council get a foothold on this idea, this concept of letting non-elected people make decisions or whatever. And I'm not saying, I'm not picking her out, because she's really good. I'm just saying, this is one thing I think that the taxpayers are really special about on this idea of getting representation to look at every dime this county has. And that's all I'd like to say.
So, had there not been an effort by the county attorney, it's his job to know the processes of county government. If there had not been an effort made to circumvent the council authority, I would vote to fix this. But I'm voting against it because that effort was made.
I understand.
Huh? I know.
Now, just point of order, the
Yeah, we
hearing
need to-
at hand does not
Yes.
involve the 911, this thing. The hearing is for 5 items, 3 of them out of Riverboat and 2 out of the Sheriff's Fund 1170. So is there any other issues with those? The only question I had is on PSAP fund, it says 3,000 for the intoxilizer. It's 2,500 on the request. Okay, so we want to make sure that's 2,500
Instead of 3,000.
Right.
instead of the 3,000. Yeah, okay.
And the first two,
So is it got to do with the, okay,
Yep, I had a question on the 21,000 for time clocks. How many time clocks does that get you?
that's over what is needed, correct, Sheila?
the,
Well, it included multiple things.
yeah, it just
Yeah.
barely came in under the 21,000, and those were, I don't have that with me, Joe, but I'd be more than happy to email it to you.
How many departments do we have in the county? Every office and department that's going to use it. It seems super steep
You have
for
the,
something that's already got a system that's not really broken. Everybody's clocked in, clocked out the same way for 60 or 80 years around there.
They've not had time clocks.
No, not one.
They've,
Just on
no, it's
paper?
just paper.
it's just all in paper, because it's past time from the paper. The time clocks, there will be 3 in the courthouse, your outlying offices. Some will have the swipe cards, depending on where they're at, that they can log in on their phones and things. Gary, do you remember exactly how many time clocks there are?
11.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and when we say time clocks, it's very generic because it includes the time clocks, but it also includes the software, the setup,
Correct, yeah.
and there's other interface things that are in the cost. Some of it is one time, and then the ongoing annual or maintenance agreement, that, how much was that part?
It's $300 on the time clocks. What I can tell you right now is the total budget for Lao is $144,000. That's including the new time system.
Okay, well, that's
I have
not
that
much
budget
different.
for you.
Yeah, well, I'm just bringing it up here for discussion, but it's more, it's not just 6 clocks for 21,000. It's
Yeah.
6
It's
plus
11. It's
the
11.
enforcement or the,
Well, it's 11.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's the additional for the software and all that stuff, so.
And we've already checked in with IT and with their company. If there's a power outage, all the information is stored in their data. Then once it's brought back up, it's all still there, so we're not losing anything. Everybody's losing their time and they punch in, that kind of stuff.
I there any other questions with the additional appropriations?
Your first two, if you approve them, again, those are the two that you need resolutions for to pay your line item back.
Okay.
You
This is
approve
for
the extension.
extension and the time
And the
clocks.
time clocks. Those were the resolutions that you will also, to pay your line item back.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion then if we're closing the hearing. Are we closing the hearing?
Well, don't you have to make the motion first and then we close it?
All right, I'm going to make a motion that we proceed with the appropriations as presented and noting the $2,500 correction there on the intoxilizer part for the Riverboat Fund, 5124 and $21,000 appropriations. We're going to use the council's line item 30100 temporarily with the intention of getting a reimbursement back for those from the Riverboat, well, it's back to Riverboat, but from, where are we getting our reimbursement back from?
From Riverboat. We're going ahead and paying these from the council's line item.
Okay.
We're getting reimbursed from the
Okay,
Riverboat.
okay. So those first two, we're going to use that line item I mentioned, and then Riverboat is going to be where the reimbursement is going to come from to pay that back. The others will be from their direct funds.
So motion made by Anton, is there a second? Second by Steve. Are there any questions on these? If not, all those in favor? Motion carried. I now hereby close the public hearing. On to new business, treasurer innkeeper's tax.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
I am just here to hopefully get a signature tonight on a new ordinance change for how innkeepers is collected from county, moving it to state collection.
I'm going to make a motion that we proceed in adopting ordinance 2024, and what's the number?
016.
016.
Motion's been made, is there a second? Seconded by Andy. Any questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Will this help your
It will free up some hourly, some time for us, yes.
And there's no cost
No.
to this fund for them overseeing these
From the state to the county, no.
Thank you.
But they are gonna spend the money back.
They will.
Yeah, we're going to get our money, right? Yes.
Yes.
All right, if there's no more questions, all those in favor? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, there's that.
You have a copy.
On to transfers and additional appropriation requests.
We need the signatures on that.
Yeah, I've just passed it on down.
Okay.
It's coming your way. Okay. What do we have here?
You have one additional appropriation from the courts, and then 3 transfers.
Pre-trial grant?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that we proceed with advertising the following. We're going to do Fund 1,000 in the amount of $359.18 for the court interpreter, line 0232, well, Department 0232, line 38,000. And then I'll throw in there the approval of the transfers as presented.
I second that.
Motion's made by Anton, seconded by Nick. Or was it Nick? Or was it? Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't look up and any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried.
I'm going to make a motion that we proceed in allowing the president to sign off on the salary confirmation summaries.
Motion made by Anton, is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Steve. Questions? All
That's
those,
a tough vote.
all those in favor? Okay. On to 2025 pre-budget hearing discussion.
I think you have the only copy. Departments turned them in. We still have
Yeah.
a few that are pending. They're the bigger ones. We're already at 14 million and something. We will send out, as soon as we get the few departments that haven't turned them in yet, we'll send them electronically. Work with your departments as much as possible. I encourage all of them to get with you guys as well at your August meeting. We will have the actual manuals for you, and then if you guys would want to consider at your August meeting what you're going to do as far as, are you gonna do COLA or across the board or whatever, that would give us a few more weeks to be working and trying to get those numbers put in before the actual budget hearings start on August 28th.
I think that would save a lot of time if we can figure out what we want to do about raises.
We looked at that both ways, because the COLA doesn't equal out for everybody the same, and then we're talking about from
Well,
the 50%
the
range to
COLA's
60%
across the
range.
board, isn't it?
Yeah.
COLA's,
The
but there
percentage
was-
does make it.
But there were some people that were already above the midpoint, so their COLA is different versus getting the 60% or.
Right, so
That's what we talked
at our August meeting, you'll have the cost estimates.
Okay.
You can look over the
Great.
options, yeah. So we'll have a generic COLA like we've seen years ago, where we have different choices with different dollar amounts. And then you're going to have the other sheet that shows the midpoint, like 60%, 75, so you kind of have a range of dollars for all the funds. But that won't be available till August, so.
You've got vacation lag?
Yeah, a little behind, yes.
all right, everybody has one of these. I printed this out. This is our council budget. Of course, I didn't fill in the elected official pay because we don't know that yet. I kept 30,000 for legal fees, kept supplies the same, the Allen Hall Rescue. On the other services and charges, that's where we put the extra, is that right?
That's where you put the extra, you advertised $1 million above the budgets last year, and that's where it went. Then when the state cuts happened, you reduce that line item, and that's your balances that you're working off of now, which would basically be the same thing again. You always obviously want to advertise high, so it was just a good place to keep it for, just like tonight, the Sherry's things and being able to pay things unexpectedly.
So what number do we want to put in that?
Well, I would leave that at the discretion of the auditor for advertisement,
Okay.
right? For the
Yeah.
general
So I'll
fund
just
part
leave
of
that
it.
open then.
Yeah.
Dues and subscriptions were the same, travel mileage. Are we keeping the EMS rotation vehicles in there?
No,
Okay,
that goes into EMS.
back in EMS. I did up the registration and conference to 5,000 because that's what was in 2023. That was about what it was. So, does anybody want to weigh in on this? And
The other thing on registration and conference, if we don't want to actually raise it and not add that to the general fund, the law passed last year allows use of the elected official training fund to be used by council members for their training.
okay,
So that might be something that's usable.
Currently, it's 1,600 that's in that line item, but the state is almost making it mandatory that all elected officials attend both the spring and the fall state conferences now. They're keeping track of it, they're posting it on their pages, so you're probably gonna triple that easily because the cost have gone up with those as well. So it's something you can decide as we're going through, but I wouldn't do anything less than 3,000 or 4,000 in there, just
Okay.
due to the price increase and the mandatory, you have to attend something, so.
So what does the council want to do with that? Do they want to keep, and do we want to keep it at the 5, or do we want to do somewhere in between?
Just keep it as at 5 for now. Just, that's an area we could reduce.
Right.
If we need to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And wages, just keep them the same for now.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So, if we're no more questions on the pre-budget hearing, the elected officials and department head comments. Baron.
Baron Burnett, Jackson Township trustee, that's the hat I got on the wall. Basically, what I want to make the council confident of is that over the course of quite a few weeks here, we talked about how much it will cost the taxpayers and the county to clean up property under this new ordinance. So I got a hold of a firm down there in Bloomington that handles muck. In other words, they come in and clean up areas that are, you know, really bad shape, okay? That's what they do for a living. They're experts at it. And so I went ahead and I took 2 of the addresses that the county commissioners had talked about up in my township were supposed to be bad places. So I went ahead and I got aerial photographs of the two bad places. And then I went ahead and I drove with my car up there and took pictures so that people could see it just from the road, you know. And then I had a meeting with this company, and they looked at all the pictures and stuff, and here's what they told me. Now, one of the properties was only like about an acre, the other was like 3 or 4 acres, okay? So we're talking about small property. They said they wouldn't touch those things unless they had $20,000 up front, plus they had to have money for large equipment for removal, you know, engine blocks, cars, and all the burned out trailers. Then they have to pay for the dumping fees, because a lot of that stuff you have to pay to have done. Then the ground cleanup, to get all the chemicals and stuff out of the ground, is another cost. Plus, you got to take the contaminated soil up north up there, up to, I can't remember the name of the town, up there to dump it on the federal site. So these costs for a couple of acres have now gone up to be, you know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $70,000 for a couple of acres of ground. And I think that the council needs to know that when somebody talks about cleaning up something, it's not free. And these landowners, I'm not kidding you, I deal with them. But, hey, if you give me a bill, I don't want to pay it, I'll quit claiming the place, I'm out of here, I'm done. And a lot of them don't even live in Indiana. So I just want to let you know that this cleanup on an acre of ground or so is a big dollar item. And it's going to cost the taxpayers in this county a lot of money once we get possession of that property. That's all I got to say.
I'd like to back up on Barron. His numbers are actually low. I clean up soil for a living, and you get an acre around here with any kind of diesel fuel or gasoline, you're talking $50,000 to $100,000 quick. And it becomes your responsibility once you find out about it. And I then will be knocking on your door and saying, hey, here's a list of accepted contractors. You guys pick one. It's on you now. Still get it cleaned up. Landfill in Dorset, there's one in Indianapolis. It's minimum $5,000 for me to go in that. So it's coming, and it's going to be on your guys' backs, so that we can have a $25,000 part-time code enforcement officer.
So is there any element of the property itself and like a lien on that property before resale or transfer?
So that has to be.
How does that work?
That has to be cleaned before you do that.
Okay.
Well, I think outside of your farmers, the largest landowner in Owen County is a fellow by the name of No Gupta. He lives in Florida, and he buys 60% of your tax.
Yeah, this is the tax sale
And then,
stuff. Yeah.
So you all are probably familiar, you drive by all the time, that land behind Casey's and Gosport, this huge eyesore, that is the ideal property for them. Gupta. He owns that, sells it on contract to somebody, and they'll pay him a couple $100 a month, they'll pay the taxes on it, turns into a wasteland, and then here comes Owen County coming in as code enforcement officer to save the day.
So what do other counties do that have code enforcement already, are they incurring these costs? Do they have line items in their budgets that cover this?
So, the misconception about code enforcement is that I hear all the time, we don't want to be Monroe County, but that is the type of county that can afford that. So they can have code enforcement. So you get down to Greene County, which is kind of different down there, Martin County, Sullivan County, there is no building enforcement, therefore there is no codes to enforce. You know, again, if it's a state code, it's on the back of the taxpayers of Owen County who are already taxed. It seems like every meeting we come in here, additional appropriations are getting approved. We're signing on for another maintenance cost or another annual cost. And, the money's gonna run out. And I think that the property on Shepherd Road should be you guys a prime example of being careful. And Gupta, there you go. So you know what's going to be.
Shelley?
I just want to kind of throw into here, as the person who generates the tax sale list, the options that I have. And that option, now that we have this new ordinance for the code enforcement, has brought into play that we will disperse that ordinance this year's tax sale and make every buyer, including Benny Gupta, make him aware that if his properties are on the list, he will be banned from buying further. So we are passing those out in this year's tax sale and telling them that Owen County stops here. We're not selling to you if you're going to make them this type of property. So they will be informed this year. It will take effect next year. If Benny's properties or anybody's properties that is a registered bidder is on that list, they will not be able to bid on Owen County properties.
Ah, okay.
Thank you.
Baron?
One of the things that bothers me is people always talk about problems, and we got this problem and this issue and that problem, so on and so on. But I don't hear a whole lot of people talk about resolutions. How do you fix it? Okay? My proposal is pretty straightforward and simple. Since we know that it takes so much money to run the sheriff's department, it takes so much money to run the communications, so much money to run the medical, and so much money to do this. So these are things that we've done for years and years and years, and we know how much money it takes to run those departments and services to the people, right? One of the things that we need to do, in my opinion, is to start I don't know, like a line item or some kind of a budgetary thing, where we put so much money in every year, okay, right, that can be used towards cleanup of these properties. So we might not be able to take on the $150,000 job, but we can take care of, $25,000 here, $60,000 there, over time. But at least we have a resource to go to, because I don't believe these property owners are going to pay a dime. I think we'll just skip out on them and maybe stuck with the bill. But I think if we started a budget item on beautification or cleanup of the county or assistance fund, you know what I'm saying, then I think that would be the way to go in the future. That's my opinion on the resolution.
Any other public comment? Oh.
I just wanted to clarify something that Dana said, that they asked the BCA to do the code enforcement hearings, and he said we didn't have a quorum. We did have a quorum, and the quorum was we did not want to do it.
Interesting.
I got a couple things, but let's see what there was, and something to say, I guess. But I'll keep myself in check.
Can you speak up, Sam?
Yes, absolutely. My first question is the county council's attorney, is he involved in anything?
Yeah, I actually talked with him about this situation with the total response. So yeah, I have talked with him, and whenever he's not like Dana where he's there, because it costs the taxpayers whenever we have him come down here or whenever we have him do anything, so we just try to limit that resource, but yes, we do use him.
So he's aware of this land transaction, so this is what.
I am going to, I have not talked to him about that yet, but I have that on my list of things.
That'll be, my next thing will come to, of course, you know, I'm not news there, I mean, I've been trying to get the jail project done for 13 years. But I see some things writing on the wall that's happening here, but the people want to admit it, but they don't. And Gary's gonna hear, I said the same thing, he's going. Gary and I believe Paul is on the redevelopment commission, I think they met on Friday and they voted to.
And I'm going to say this, but I don't mean to interrupt you, but I would love for the public to come to those redevelopment commission meetings. I mean, I want this out in the open. I want people's opinions. I want the public to weigh in on this.
Okay, well, and I'll agree with you 100%, but let's back up, because there's where the problem is lying right now, in front of the public. I was here at the commissioner's meeting on Wednesday. Commissioner Burton said that they went to a meeting on Friday and voted to start this proceeding. The other two commissioners had no idea what he was talking about. Joe Lowe called him out and said, "What do you mean? You voted on what? What are you talking about?" "Oh, we went to redevelopment to try to get this process started." Taxpayers, it's your money. I'm not saying the process in itself is wrong. Here's what's wrong. He didn't let the other two commissioners know anything about it. How many council members knew about the redevelopment commission meeting?
I called everybody
To let them know that she was going to it? I mean,
to let them know what was being discussed, yes.
Okay. So everybody was aware of it.
I didn't know about.
Well, I didn't,
Any redevelopment.
I called and told you about what was being discussed, what they were wanting to do.
Yeah, I didn't know until after.
I didn't know, I didn't know until I was in the meeting, so,
You didn't know that the jail thing was going, and I'm not calling, here's the problem that we had. The left hand has no idea what the right hand's doing. You've got two commissioners sitting up there beside another commissioner, has no idea what he's doing. It's your money they're gonna spend. How much are we leaving on the table? So I talked to some of the redevelopment commission, and I encouraged every taxpayer to come Thursday at the 2 o'clock meeting, because I'll be there, because there's some questions that the taxpayers, as well as the council, as well as the commissioners, need to be asked. What are we leaving on the table? My question was going to ask Gary, and this has never been brought up, and I have an answer for why. How come we didn't ask the gentleman how much it's going to cost just to buy his property? What's it going to cost, sir, to buy 10 acres from you? That was never brought up. How did I know that? I talked to him.
Yeah, so, do you mind if I?
No, I
So-
just, yeah.
I'm going to tell you guys, and ma'am, I know we're done talking about your situation, okay? So, but again, I kind of get the sense that this board change was in relation to something that happened. I don't think it happened on a whim. I kind of get the feeling that this whole circumvention of the council thing happened because there was something they wanted done and didn't want brought back here, which looks like it worked out. Then I hear Anton ask the question tonight, when we know that any county purchase goes through the council, and real estate would fall under that. But then he says, well, we don't have to go through the council because it's a trade. And I'm just seeing lots of things that kind of undermine processes in order to get a desired result. And I don't like it.
That's where I'm going. What I'd like to see, and I'm not, as a taxpayer, I can call for a meeting myself. I'm not trying to derail anybody. We've been on this project, Anton, how long? problem I see, and folks, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong and I'll leave. There is absolutely no communication going on between the commissioners and the council. None. If it's being done, it's not being done in an open public meeting where the taxpayers can hear what's going on. It's being done out on the street behind the closed doors or with the secret phone society. That's wrong. Barry made a good point. We're all elected officials, I'm soon to be elected official. This will not happen. Dave's sitting right here. I've talked to Dave about a few things. We don't see eye to eye on everything. Rest assured of one thing, this will not go on. This cannot go on. The public needs to know what you are doing. The public needs to know what the commissioners are doing because it's your money. It's not happening. You know, I know they want to move on with this jail project and stuff like that, but there's so many unanswered questions. The timeline, that they got everything timelined out. Boom, 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 boom. I don't foresee it happening. Because I think you're going to come across some things that are relevant to the cause. We're trading 9.6 acres against 95. They said, well, you can't utilize none of that property down there. Absolutely false. The other two commissioners sitting up there on Wednesday had no idea what Mr. Burton was talking about. Elected officials that are going to make a decision on your tax dollars, and two of them have no idea what's going on. I publicly request from the council, I've known this all for a long time, and I request this from the commissioners and the redevelopment. Let's have a work session. Let's sit down with the taxpayers included. We'll find a bigger room. Let's lay all the cards out on the table. The council is going to be heavily involved in these decision-making process here.
I would love for that to happen. I mean, to have a work session and have the public come in and weigh in on it. I mean.
You be at the meeting Thursday?
Yeah. I have to be. I'm on the commission.
I hope some other taxpayers, because I'm going to call for a public meeting and let you work it out with the commissioners. This is not something that you can slide behind the back door, folks.
I am not trying to slide anything on.
I didn't say you, I'm not calling you, no. The whole process of it is, you have $25 million to spend on the jail. $20 million of it's going to be built for the jail. You have $5 million in soft cost. That is also to acquire property with. How much does he want for that 10 acres? 100,000, 200, $500,000? How come that question didn't get asked him? Sir, what do you want for the property?
Did you, since you've talked to Brett, did you ask him how much? I mean, if he'd be willing to sell it outright and how much it would be? I mean, he would be willing to.
I talked to him on Friday. He said, sir, I will get with the other partner. We'll talk and we'll come up with a number. It was never asked of him. It was only simply to make a trade.
And I just have a question. I'm just out of curiosity. You said that that land, what would you use that land for? I mean, just.
Have they told us what the prices are? Or is that sitting? They are in.
They've not been
The appraisals
opened.
have been in for quite some time.
They're still sealed and they've not been opened.
But
They had
they did sit and told us that the first appraisal that come in was not beneficial to the commissioners. He said it.
yeah, I know. I'm saying, okay, there's, I don't, no.
They're going to change it. But one commissioner decided that, the other two don't know what's going on.
I
There's no
agree.
problem.
I know.
I hope that.
That's been my problem all along.
So a trade is going on.
Okay.
Hey, a trade is going on, okay? The council is involved in purchases. I mean, what, how can we stop this if it's a bad deal?
Well, first of all, you don't have to prove anything that's going on. Did the commissioners discuss in a commissioners meeting, oh, we're going to go out and get 3 appraisals? It was not discussed in the commissioner meeting. You got appraisals done. It's gonna cost money. Whose money is that? How many appraisals has already been done? How many more appraisals now has got to be done that's going to turn over to redevelopment? Redevelopment, can they use the 2 appraisals that's sitting in sealed envelopes? They know what the appraisals are, but you don't. You should know what the appraisals are. You're the council, but you don't know what the appraisals are, do you? He does, and he does. My problem is, the first appraisal didn't suit them. Let's get another one. Should have got 3 to begin with. Open them up in the public meeting so you know. That way the taxpayers know what we're leaving on the table. Joe Lowe brought that up in the commissioners meeting yesterday. What are we leaving on the table? We're trading 10 acres for 95. What's 95 appraised for? $1 million, and his appraised for $500,000, you leave $500,000 on the table. If we could buy it outright, and we still hang on to the 95 acres.
So that's what I was trying to get at in the discussion when I was asking, is there a difference between these two? And they generally said, yeah, there's a difference, even though there's this other issue.
The
of-
difference is the council circumvented in.
Well, and there's that too, but it's, yes.
Well, hang on a second. We agreed in our joint
Right.
commissioner council meeting to trade the land.
Yeah, the
That was
point,
all of us.
right,
I want to point
And-
out, at that joint meeting,
Yeah.
Mr. Burton sat right here and said, Brett had inquired about storage units.
Yeah.
If he wants them, don't sell them.
Yeah,
You know, so
that was
that's
exactly.
exactly what he said.
But we did agree to trade property.
I know.
But according to
Yeah.
state law, when I read it, they have to be equal. We can't trade if they're not equal
But
anyway.
you didn't vote on trading 30 acres.
Yes, yeah, but none of that was voted on.
30 acres against.
That's what I'm saying, the goalposts have moved too,
Right.
since that conversation.
well, and that's the point where I asked on the process, at what point do we get to make that decision? And it sounds like, well, probably not, because they're using the redevelopment as the method to equalize, if you will, but there's still the potential for a loss. So for example, if the 95 acres is worth $1 million, and this is 500,000, just throwing figures out, then 500,000 is what you're losing, because we're giving that up. The redevelopment commission would have to determine if giving up that value, whatever that is in the public's interest. That's where the process lies, and that's what's yet to be determined. But we did already, our desire across the board was to have a zero-cost property option. If we have to pay for any property, no matter where it's at, that's less money for the jail itself, because we're having to buy the property. We already own a piece of property in town.
Thank you.
And in my opinion, that should still have been used. But in light of that, in light of the general direction this has been heading, the second best is a swap of some sort, which we all agreed to as well. But whether that's an equitable swap is yet to be determined. And whether that's exactly what we want to end up doing may or may not come to a vote if it goes to the redevelopment
And
commission.
so, my
So-
question is, on that existing property, you know, I'm told that this floodplain, are we being, is that all accurate? Because
They're putting way too much stock into what one person says, that FEMA has changed the floodplain. And it's gonna wreck this town because nobody is checking the facts of what she's going to these classes and learning. And coming back and everybody's like, oh, okay, they're gonna change the floodplain, so we cannot build here. Now we can't build by CPS unless they raise it 2 foot. That's what she says, and everybody's just taking it for gospel. Nobody's double checking it. And so now we're getting to the point, if you can't build where the jail is, where can you build in Spencer County?
And I answer your point when they hung up all the pictures up there, they just talked about this and this. I brought up the question, you're wrong. Where the jail is now, you're in the 2% flood fringe. But across the street where Mark owns property, he builds all the time. So I asked DNR, sir, how can that happen? He said, it's simple. He raised it up 3 feet or what above the elevation, he's good to go. And he asked me, are you gonna dig a hole in the ground, and put the jail inside the ground. I said, no, sir, we built it up foundation wide. He said, you're fine. He said, if it rains for 40 days and 40 nights like in biblical times, it don't make no difference what floodplain you're in. But as the property's sitting there, it's just in 2% flood fringe. That's it. As far as Duke Energy, we gotta be 50 feet away from, we can get an encroachment within 10 feet of that. The property is still doable. I understand that they want this, they want that, okay, I'm not the sheriff, I was for 8 years. Nothing happened. Jail project got took off the table the last year I was sheriff 2 different times. I wonder why.
There was never a solicitation put out there for, is there any interested parties that have owned property that would be interested in a swap for 90 acres on Franklin Road? So you don't know what's out there, you're just being shown what they want to show you. And the council got bullied tonight in the $50,000 appropriation there. You guys owe that bill, and the process was not followed correctly. You guys got bullied into approving it outside of how your policies go, and then shown, hey, this is a transfer, you don't have a say in it. So Randy, when you say, that happened, why don't we have a say in it? You haven't seen nothing yet. You don't know what's going to be next.
I'll look and I'll have to find the email, but I have an email. In that trade, we're only allowed a certain percentage of difference.
Yes.
And that's a state law. We have it. I think we all got that email.
Right, so I think what's being said is, that difference is beyond, so we're moving the goalposts again. You understand what I'm saying? Well,
But I don't think we can. I don't think they can.
But apparently, we've already got values.
No.
How do you know?
Yeah, that's what I said. If they're off, they
They
can't.
know they're off, they can go back and redo the numbers.
Well,
The appraisals have already been in. These 2 gentlemen know what the appraisals are. That's what you haven't seen.
So what we're saying is, based on what you're saying, then it's a no-go.
that's from what I read, when I read about the trade of the public and versus private and how it went, the whole thing had to have minimum of 2 appraisals on both pieces of property by separate companies, and then they also could only be within a percent. So I can't remember the exact thing. I'll have to go find the email.
And I did speak to Craig Kaufman, who's on the RD, that he's Craig, and also spoke to Bobby Hall in length. And this will be discussed on Thursday. As Craig said, Sam, you're absolutely correct. But he said, rest assured, take a deep breath, don't get your feathers ruffled too much. And he said, because this process is an extremely long process.
It is.
The timetable that's already been laid out for you is,
It's not even, it will not be done till October. There's plenty of opportunity there for the public to come in and have their input. It's not, I mean, it's a.
that's what the public needs to be there for.
Right, I agree.
Folks, here's what I really feel is important to drive home. Dave and Sam are commissioners-elect. We're not going to have the jail built before January. As far as continuity goes, and look, I'm not saying your ideas are good or
I
bad,
understand.
but what's going to happen is, because there's no integration moving forward, I can see change orders like, and you know who pays for all these changes whenever it comes to a big project? The taxpayers do. So if one side's trying to force a certain methodology forward, and for the love of God, we say here for 12 years, 10 years, or whatever.
I did it.
No, as a county, discussing a jail, it was before my time too. Discussing a jail, and wouldn't you know it, guys, when are we up against the wall and we're pushing like hell? It's August. It's August. It's coming. And now, I can tell, I don't know if you guys can read the tea leaves or not, but the folks that are going to be here in January aren't exactly on board with what's going on now. So I don't know how to integrate, but I know who loses, and I know where the cost goes. And it's to the public.
I just want to see more open communication. I want the commissioners to know what's going on, all three of them. And you just know it as well as I'm sitting here telling you that. You said it in the meeting with all of the commissioners. You said it with the Wednesday meeting. You agreed
I
on
sure
that.
do. And that's why I go, because that's the only way you're gonna find out exactly what's
But
going
when
on.
you
As
see-
much as you can.
When you see things like that happen, it makes the council put strings, pull the rope back, say, whoa, wait a minute, we're not lost. Whoa, wait a minute, we don't know. Whoa, wait a minute, whoa, that's where things are tonight. I'm not saying the process that they're looking at is wrong. It's a simple fact that all the truth is not being told. Lay the facts out on the line because these people sitting here are the ones gonna pay for it, as well as you.
Sheila,
Is there a reason appraisals aren't public?
that's what I was wanting to
Are they
know.
confidential? Is there a reason that they can't be? There's two sets of them. And
Well-
I can't give the numbers, I apologize, because I received those emails as well as the commissioner. And they have the confidentiality clause in there. But why can those not?
That's what because I was going to
Is there a
ask,
secret? Is there a reason that they can't be made public? If you're looking at that 100% difference or whatever you can do, or whatever, how can you make judgments if you don't know the facts that you're looking at on two different sets?
and that's what I was gonna
Other
ask
places.
Thursday on, because we have to see the appraisals. I mean, I want to see in black and white.
You know, Polly, I talk to the public all the time. They don't know who to believe and who to trust down here in the county. They are really just turned upside down. You know, a house divided will fall, and if we can't communicate, and that's where we're at, and if we're being lied to, shame on them. But it seems like some of the truth has been withheld from us. And here we are to make some decisions. We control the purse strings. But how can we make good decisions to protect the public if we're not given good facts? This bothers me.
I have
And
some input. If you would read the Owen News, the article in there about the jail project, Nicole has sat through the meetings and she's got it down pretty much word for word.
yeah, and I did, but our agreement was, they was looking at 30 acres for what, 107 acres maybe?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it was one thing, now we're coming down to 9.6 acres to 96 acres, and we can't see an estimate, we can't see appraisals. No, this is a farce, this is a
And
joke.
I think there's one last thing. There's not much we can do about it. But if the protocol is, well, but if the protocol is that there has to be a certain threshold for those things to line up, like you said, they've obviously not lined up.
And maybe it was an assumption on my part that we would just knock off X amount of acres till it was equal to what we wanted. And that's what I thought was going to happen, but.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we authorize the president of the council to contact Tony, the county attorney, and find out what our options are in dealing with this.
And see what you just said makes sense.
We got a motion on the floor.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Motion made by Andy, second by Anton.
And that's not the county attorney, that's the council's
Oh,
attorney.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the
County
council.
council attorney, my bad.
Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried.
I vote against it. I'm afraid we're open to response, and I know that we're not getting some straight answers, but then our attorney's like $275 an hour.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, over a decision that involves thousands and thousands of dollars,
Millions.
millions, Nick,
I understand that, but I'm saying, maybe there's some things that we just need to put the chops on. We control the purse string, and we just say, no, as a group, we have to vote against it in a number that will hold.
I know.
Well,
I
so,
understand what you're saying, get legal advice, but I don't want to open that Pandora's box.
Oh,
like we
please
did.
do that within.
so we already set a limit. We know the cost limit. We're not going above that. We already did that.
And,
It's the 25 or so, that particular project. We're not raising taxes, we're not changing any guidelines, we're using what our capacity is for the project. If the land goes up, then the jail has to go down, in my opinion. There's a limit. Something has to give.
We set
Right.
the ceiling.
Right, we set the ceiling. Now, how you get to that is where the nuts and bolts are. Is the property transfer, is that a fair trade? Are we leaving money on the table or not? Are we having an equal say in the decision and the process or not? Those kind of questions are where we're at. And at the moment, there evidently is a lack of communication and there needs to be more information and things like that, but let's work on that. That's why it was brought up, and that's a good thing. There's not been any final decision yet, those kind of things. Do we take a vote and say, no until January, we're not approving any further activity or doing anything? I'm not sure that's productive, but at the same time, I think what Andy suggested is it's probably a good idea to have some outside look at this and some of the options. Are the timetables correct? Is that process accurate? Just to verify and make sure that things are being done the way they should be. And we need to be very cognizant of what the public thinks and allow them the best possible opportunities to be involved. I think we all agree to that.
My thing
I think
is,
that's
there's
important.
not going to be a vote or any kind of motion on my part to wait till January. What I'm saying is, we waited this long, let's not rush to failure on some of this stuff.
Steve brought up a good point, there is a percentage that you have to be compatible with the trade property one for the other. There's got to be a certain percentage, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's got to be relatively close.
If it was done county-wide, but that's why they're wanting to go through the RDC.
And and I'll leave it this, so they appraise the quarry property and they appraise this property out here. I didn't appraise the property with the jail site. You're not gonna build a jail there, you're not gonna have a jail there. How much do we own there? What's that property worth? I would think that would be something that you want in this mix, because then you have another piece on the chessboard to play with. That appraisal needs to be done on the property that the jail sitting on right now. The whole entire property. Storage units and all, because we own the whole entire thing. That's one of the.
And that has to go away at the end of this whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'll acknowledge that I'm not up to speed about what happened earlier regarding the commissioner and the attorney and the $50,000 thing. In a brief way, can you explain that to me, what happened?
Yes, we sure can. You can watch the meeting in June. We had quite a discussion on it, but to give you,
Going forward.
yeah, to give you
Back to
a,
what Nick was saying, I am recently retired and I've started attending some of these because something ain't right. Right or wrong, something ain't right in my mind. So I will be attending more. Go ahead, sir.
yeah, I think the discussion was fantastic in June. That's going to give you an idea of what the
Okay,
questions
I'll do
were.
that.
But to give you an overview, we originally had made the motion to advertise, even though it wasn't stated that way, but that's a part of the process, for the $50,000 based on the recommendation of the 911 director. Then, in conversation in June during the hearing, it was discovered that the 911 advisory board had not been consulted about that purchase. And then I chose to withdraw. I made the motion, I think, to withdraw that part of the appropriation so we could get more information. And I think the director even mentioned that she wasn't able to meet with them and she was going to meet with them soon, which you did. And then after that, we had the opportunity tonight to reconsider it. In the meantime, the commissioners changed their policy on the 911 advisory board to take away their option to consult on this issue formally, even though you had mentioned, the director mentioned that she did consult with them anyway and that they agreed to it. So that gives you a very generic description. There was some bumps in the road. There's been changes in the process. At the end of the day, the product has already been signed for, the product's already been installed, it has to be paid for. That's where we're at.
Okay, very well,
Yeah.
thank you.
This is my last statement. Believe it or not, I'm sure it is. He that giveth can taketh away. In other words, if you guys decide you're gonna put a vote on this or a vote on that, or so much money in this account, or so much money in that account, if you find out later on that that's not a really good deal, then you make a motion and you second it, and you decide to take the money out of that account. And then I don't care what anybody else wants to do, the money's not available. So that's how you remedy situations where you get yourself caught in a trap.
Well, I think, Mayor, I appreciate that. I think we gotta come back to the place where we get all the facts before we make a decision. All the facts, and make sure they've been vetted, make sure, because if we don't have those, we trust people. I think we do, because we've made a lot of decisions off of what people have told us. And then find out later that maybe that wasn't always the truth. But so maybe we need to do our homework as well. Or maybe we need to put a little more time in it than what maybe I've done.
I have a question. Maybe Anton can help. Why is there a 911 advisory board? Why isn't there a highway advisory board or a sheriff's advisory board or anybody else's advisory board? I'm just asking, why do we have specifically a 911 advisory board for a department head, but not the others?
Yeah. Can I answer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the way it was explained to me is, I represent all of public safety departments, right? And so it's imperative that they be involved in the policies and procedures and in the writing of them, so that I don't have to dispatch the sheriff's department differently than I do Spencer PD, right? That everything's done the same straight across the board. And that they all have a say in that, because I'm my own separate entity from them. So it's basically regarding policies and procedures.
So wouldn't that just be a meeting with all those department heads?
Yes, that's what it is. It's the chief of Spencer PD.
Because what it would boil down to is the people that's on the board are on emergency services, like yourself, Can you imagine? They're the ones that recommended to hire her, and they brought it to the commissioners. Could you see 3 city commissioners hiring a 911 director? Because they know this much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, it's like health board.
Yeah.
It's similar to health board. EMA stuff.
But that's not like, it wouldn't be for the financial aspects of everything. It would be, hey, this is not gonna work with what we do. I mean, am I wrong?
Right, and there was some ambiguity in the way the policy was written originally regarding the advisory board. And that's all Dana went in, is he clarified that. And everybody on the board, well, nobody spoke up when he clarified it, so I don't know if they concurred with it, or if they didn't.
There's no point to speak up, because a lot of people on that board are in a position to do the job.
And Joe makes a good point, and there's no secret to this either. Everybody knows it. And then, talking about it, but anyway, there's appointed people in these positions that they need their positions. You talk about bullying, it goes around a long ways. It happens there in this county. Some people are afraid to speak up, so other people have to speak up for them. Some people that are appointed would like to say things, but they don't, because they don't want the retribution.
Yeah, and also to add to the question, that prior to us having our own 911 department, it was managed out of the sheriff's department. And the sheriff's department called the shots and made the decisions and those kind of things, and did get input, by the way, informally, but generally it was just a function or a division, communications division within the sheriff's department. Once that new department was formalized on its own, this board was set up in the spirit of communication and collaboration and all that. And it's still debatable whether the scaling back is a good move or not, but the whole point of having a board is to have some kind of lines of communication, not just with other county departments, but the fire departments and the Spencer Police or the town level of law enforcement, and have those people at the table talking together about the department. That was the point.
Well, I
of
understand
having
all
that.
that.
Yeah.
I just, it seemed like they were, like, telling her how to run her department. And maybe
Can you give me an example of that?
No, I'm just saying, that's what it felt like. When I was talking to Jackie, a couple things, I don't know, I just felt like, it seems to me that's what the correction was about. And I'm asking, not telling. So,
Well, you know, it's a communication thing, and I respect her position, and that's the reason when I was sheriff, we ran it, we talked this, we got input from lots of people, how to handle this, and the board stopped growing. Because the people that sit on that board has been in first responder classification one way or another for 20, 30, 40 years. She needs their input. She is the director, our hands off for that, but, but she needs their expertise, she needs their guidance, she needs their recommendations, because it all works in one circle.
Well, and the difference to me, because when I was in the commissioners meeting, Gary said, why not have a board for all these? It's comparing apples to oranges, because she is the hub of, 911 is the hub of the public safety. What she does, what her department does, not her, but what her department does affects all of them, EMS, sheriff, fire departments. So that's what that board is there for. It's all of those components together to make sure that it runs smoothly. So you don't need,
As you?
yeah, well, because I stood up in response to their changes in the ordinance. And that's what he said to me. And to me, it's a different animal altogether, because you have to have that cohesiveness. You have to have them all working together. You can't have sheriff's department here doing their thing, and EMS doing their thing, and 911 doing their thing, and it not mesh.
most of this goes back to, for me and for our fire department, it's the radios. And we're going back to this isn't.
Oh, this is.
But the radios.
That's a whole other subject there.
That we've got to get corrected. And I'm telling you, Nathan Mater is probably one of the smartest people when it comes to those radios. He probably has as much knowledge as anybody around here. And I told him what the plan was with all that, and he's like, it won't. He just went off on me. I'm like, listen.
He's been in my office.
Give me then tell me, because we, Cataract, Poland, Gosport, all have to use 800s. We all have to use, I don't want to go too far with this. I got things to do tonight. So. But the radio thing is a big deal for us, and I want to see us move forward on that. And if you're hamstringed on that, that's what I'm wondering about.
And this is great discussion, but I think it's gonna, so to be, for everybody's time. And like I said, I appreciate everybody's discussion on this, and I encourage you to, if you want to stay after and discuss it some more, that's wonderful. But did you have something, Chris?
Yeah, if I could, two things. A good friend of mine said something that I think everyone here should heed to. Show me, don't tell me. Especially when it comes to other places. You guys don't have to say this because it's a trade, not a sale. Show me that, don't tell me that. Second, I'm going up Thursday to get new ambulance.
Yay!
Just don't bring them too close.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Good discussion.
did you have anything, Sheila? Okay, all right.
Thank you.